Hey friends, and welcome back. Does your head feel full of all the things that you need to remember and hold on to? Does it feel like you're paralysed and not quite sure what to do next? Are you finding it difficult to do what matters most? Then you're probably feeling really overwhelmed and quite not sure what to do. Well, in today's video I'm going to answer the question, help, I'm overwhelmed, what tool can I use? And today I'm going to suggest a tool that will help you take things out of your head, will help organise it and help prioritise it, and ultimately lead to you being less overwhelmed and be able to use your head to be creative rather than just trying to store everything in your head. And what is this amazing tool? Well, it is a simple grid. That's it. Just 2 lines and some labelled axes will really help you reduce the overwhelm that you're experiencing. Now, you might think, James, that's a little bit underwhelming. Well, let me prove it to you. In this video, I'm going to basically introduce the methodology behind it and give a couple of examples that will help you increase your productivity and reduce the overwhelm. Hopefully at the end of it you'll be able to prioritise and organise what's in your head, and it will you'll no longer be in that position where you feel that like your head is just about to explode. So let's get into things. So as a bit of a background or introduction to this, my starting point was being overwhelmed. I'm one of these people who was storing too much in their head, a bit of an internal processor, and what I found was that I was getting more overwhelmed the more that I was involved with and taking on. My creativity and ability to solve problems was decreasing. I just didn't have the brain capacity for things. And thirdly, I was unable to delegate effectively because I was just too overwhelmed and I was storing too much information in my head. But then I came across these couple of methods, all revolving around the use of a grid. So one of them was the Eisenhower matrix, and the other one was the time management matrix by Stephen Covey. And so both of those are methods that are recognised, that are out there, that can help you work through time management and prioritising. But I just saw that with the aspect of the grid and the matrix and the way it all works, that you could use it for numerous other applications, if you like. And there's a number of benefits to just using a simple grid. Firstly, it is simple. Secondly, you can just use it with a pen and paper. You can work it out anywhere you are, providing you have that really. There's no need for complicated programs or computers or powerful software and tech to get this done. You simply need paper and pen, and you just draw 2 axes and then you label them up with sort of plus and minus different extremes of criteria that allow you then just to take everything that's in your head and you dump it down and categorize it accordingly. And so it is as simple as it sounds, but so many people don't do this. They try and store everything in their head, or actually trying to get it out into a grid, organised grid in this way will help. Now, one of maybe the downsides of the grid method is you do need to have a good understanding of your goals or where you want to head with things, because it's all about the grid's about prioritisation and being able to say, right, according to this criteria I would position this task or this activity here. So you do need to be able to set a goal or have goals in your mind that you're trying to achieve. Now there's a video link here that I've just put up that is really focusing on how you set goals and working through that process. So if you need help in that area, then go off and have a look at that video and gain that knowledge in terms of how to really determine your goals. But providing you have got that in mind, then this grid method will be really helpful. So we're just going to move on to a couple of examples to show how this can be outworked. So on to our first example, and we're going to use the example that Eisenhower and Stephen Covey use in terms of their methodologies and what they've expressed. And that is by taking the grid and putting importance and urgency on the axis lines. And so it's putting very important and not important, and urgent and not urgent. And then basically you take everything that's overwhelming you and your thinking of your lists, everything that's in your head, and you translate it into this grid according to the criteria and according to your goals that I talked about a little bit before. And so what happens is then you end up with 4 quadrants of tasks or activities that you can then decide what to do with. So for those things that are both urgent and important, those are things that you should get on with. They're the most things that are going to increase your productivity, your achievement levels, lead to the greatest success, and really push that needle to your goals and where you want to head. So that is really the focal point of your energies and activities. And then there's things that are not urgent, but they are important. So those things you keep a hold of, you schedule in your diary, and you come back to later when you have the time and energy to be able to work those through. But you're not going to lead to great loss now because they're not urgent. Then you've got the things that are not really important to you and what you need to do, but there is some urgency over them. So they're not going to really bring a great deal of productivity and fruitfulness to your life, but they still need to be done in some way. So those are the tasks that should be delegated to others if you can, to give away, to get others to work on and do on your behalf. And then finally, the corner where it's quadrant where it's not important and not urgent, those are the things that you shouldn't be bothering with, and the things that often just clutter up our head that we think are essential but are really not, and we should just delete them and forget about them, because in the scheme of our overall lives and desire to be fruitful, they're really not important. So this is a really powerful but simple tool, and the criteria that's used can really help us to be fruitful. So there's one example of how we can use the sort of grid or matrix tool. I'm going to go on to another example now. So for this next example, we're going to change the criteria on our axis and look at a different way that it can help us from being overwhelmed. So imagine a scenario where you're about to go start a new venture, if you like, and you're looking at what your unique contribution is you should make to that venture. What can you do and what should other people be doing? And you're also trying to match your competency to that. So what you can do in order to work through this and get some clarity and beat the overwhelm is put those 2 criteria onto the grid, so contribution and competence. And then you go through the same process that we've just been on before. You kind of, if you like, brainstorm or put all your thoughts and everything onto the grid according to that criteria, and work through in terms of what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. But as you do this with different criteria, the grid kind of speaks to you in a different way. So how does it do that? Well, let's just talk through a few examples. So on the grid, if you've got competence and contribution on that, then where they're both high, that is the sweet spot for you in this new venture, where things that only you uniquely can do and you're highly competent in that, so you are the person that should be doing them and undertaking them. Then there'll be things where the contribution, your unique contribution, is perhaps lower, but you're competent in them, you can do them. So the tendency there is sometimes because you're highly competent, you want to be able to do them, but no, that's the time where to delegate it away, to give it to others to do, because that's not your unique contribution. Then there's this next section or next grid quadrant where it changes from the other example I gave earlier, where you've got a competence that might be low but your unique contribution is high. So in that example, that is where you need to spend time developing yourself to improve that competence to allow you to make the maximum contribution. And then you've got the final box, which in this example doesn't really matter so much. It's not like delete as in the other example I gave, but it's the box where it's like the other box where nothing else fits in those three, then it's in there, and again it's not really a priority for you, it's not really a thing to develop either. So that's a different way of using the grid, using different criteria. I found that particularly helpful when I was starting my YouTube channel and coaching business, because it allowed me to think, well, what do I need to focus on? What do I need to delegate away? And where do I need to develop? So I found it really helpful. I hope you find it helpful too. So if you are feeling overwhelmed and you're searching for a tool to help you, then I hope I've convinced you today that this grid method or matrix method can help you and can lead to your overwhelm decreasing and you feeling that you have more clarity and are able to take steps forward. This method allows you to dump everything that's in your head that's overwhelming you onto paper, and then overlays actions for you to take, whether that is to get on with it and do that now because it's your sweet spot and your thing you should be doing, whether it's tasks that you should then delegate to others to do, tasks that you should maybe, and activities that you should do but do them later, development areas where you can focus your attention and develop your competency because there's a unique contribution you need to make moving forward, or whether there's just a lot of clutter in your head that has fallen in the delete box that you just need to get rid of and clear out. So I hope this tool has been really helpful for you. Please try it and give it a go and see where you get to. So on to my one last thing, and today I want to talk about delegating tasks. Now, as we work through with those two examples with the grid method, as we seek to reduce the overwhelm and put all these activities and tasks on paper, one of the key outcomes is to be able to delegate those tasks away, and that reduces our overwhelm because we're focusing on certain things and we've delegated other things to others. However, one thing that we often underestimate with delegating is just how long it takes for that person to be able to pick something up and do it as well as you can. And in fact, that becomes often a barrier because we automatically think, well, we've got to put all this time into training the person and then showing them how to do it, and then they've got to learn how to do it. I might as well just do it myself. But in order to achieve long-term fruitfulness and productivity, we have to learn to delegate well and pass things on well to others. And some scientific studies show that it probably takes 30 times as amount of time as it would take you for someone to pick up a task and be able to run with it proficiently. So when delegating, be patient, but still do it. In the long term, it will lead to much fruitfulness and productivity, but in the short term, you just have to persevere and work through well with that person until they're able to run that task or deliver that task as well as you were able to do. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, why not give the grid method a go? Simply get a bit of paper, put 2 axes on it, put an urgent label and an important label, and then dump everything from your head onto that grid and organise and prioritise it. From that, you will see what you need to do, what to delegate to others, what to delete, where you need to develop yourself. I hope that will lead you to a greater fruitfulness, greater productivity, and reduce the overwhelm and frustration that you may be experiencing. I hope this has been helpful to you. I would love to hear your comments and thoughts. If there's things that you're struggling with or not sure how to do relating to the grid method, please put all of these things in the comments below and I'll do my best to come back to you and help you be fruitful and productive. So that's it for today. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it as well. There's another video coming up here that will help you even more to become organised and productive. And be fruitful, and I'll see you in the next video.